there's a couple things. So that's like a bunch of different topics right there. I kind of want to go back. I want to go back to what Ryan mentioned earlier. If you guys wanted to talk about heart health, it'll be interesting to know like if any of this kind of aligns with what did you say that guy's name was?
Stephen Hussey, Dr. Stephen Hussey.
Stephen Hussey, yeah. So grounding, the cardiovascular aspect of grounding is really, really interesting. There are various different things that grounding impacts as far as the cardiovascular system goes, and a big part of that is blood viscosity, which is a highly neglected factor that contributes to cardiovascular disease. So the late Stephen Sinatra, he was a kind of a big pioneer as far as heart health and grounding. He passed away in the last I believe the last year or two, but he basically said that the thick clumpy blood is inflamed. It's inflamed blood. So one of the big ways that grounding impacts the cardiovascular system, and you've likely seen this all over the internet, especially kind of in our space, is zeta potential. Zeta potential is a really important aspect of colloid science. But so your red blood cells, they have this kind of negative cloud of charge around them, and that's due to these sialic acid residues, their glycoproteins and glycolipids on their cell membrane, and so that can deteriorate when you're insulated. So that charge goes down. And so your red blood cells aren't able to repel each other as efficiently. And this makes the blood thicker. It makes it more viscous. And what is viscosity? It's essentially the thickness of a fluid. So like on one end, you have water. It's not very viscous. It's runny. And then you have hyperviscous substances like honey. So if I have a hose in one hand and a hose in another, I have water in one hose, honey in the other. What's going to flow easier? What's going to flow more efficiently? It's the water. So grounding, essentially, it puts blood where it needs to be as far as viscosity. Because when the blood's really thick, I don't know if you've ever heard of endothelial dysfunction, but that's a common precursor to a lot of metabolic conditions, especially heart disease. So when the blood's thick, your heart's got to work a lot harder to get it through the circulatory system. That creates a lot of mechanical damage to that endothelial wall. So why does this red blood cell zeta potential deteriorate? Oxidative stress is a big one. These reactive oxygen species can deteriorate that red blood cell membrane charge. And along with that, glycation, hyperglycemia, having a lot of sugar in your blood. What's that common? Diabetes. That's another way diabetes and cardiovascular disease are so closely related, is through that zeta potential, which is found to be really, really low in people with diabetes. So blood viscosity is a big one. Grounding's been shown to significantly reduce systolic blood pressures. It's so effective that you literally have to watch if you're taking like anticoagulants like warfarin, Coumadin. You have to, because you don't want your blood to be too runny, too thin, and then you start to affect your blood clotting abilities. But the zeta potential is a big one. Circulation. You look at thermograms of people that are grounded, and you've likely seen those on the internet too. Their circulation just gets so much better. And then on a thermogram as well, you can see areas of inflammation a lot better because there's more heat in that area. There's more blood flow. And so it kind of shows up as this hot spot in the body. And so these before and after pictures, they'll essentially just show you that those hot spots kind of diminish. Grounding has a lot of implications as far as preventing cardiovascular disease and treating. And I think it should certainly be included in treatment plans. I'm not a doctor, but just from common sense, I feel like that should be a viable tool to utilize. So
yeah, and so the way I look at it too is like there's literally no downside to like being outside touching dirt, like pretty much like just touching the ground. There's no. I kind of explain to people is like the worst thing that could happen is you feel similar or the same. So it's like you're not taking any crazy supplement that could have an interaction with whatever. You're just outside in nature, and that's just beneficial all around, generally speaking.